Hello and welcome back to Assetto Corsa. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, and today I'm going to be looking at the early access 0.2 changelog for Assetto Corsa Competizione with the Bentley and the brand new Misano World Circuit. So make sure you stay tuned for the next, I'll say this is probably going to be about 15 minutes. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned for the next 15 minutes to see me drive this car for the first time at this track for the first time, tell you about the changelog and give you my impressions. Alright, so as I said, the first things first, this is going to be my first time in this Bentley, so you're going to see me actually drive it right from scratch. It's gone straight onto the aggressive setup. This track for the first time, no map, I have to learn the track, I have to learn the car, and you're going to see my lap times tumble over the next 15 minutes as you see me get a little bit better with the car, with the track, and start getting my own feelings for this. But whilst I'm doing that, let's talk a little bit about the changelog. So the first thing that we have is virtual reality. This is now available in virtual reality. It's still a work in progress, of course. This is still early access 0.2, but VR is now actually available. And of course we have the first generation Bentley Continental GT3 car, so you can see that I'm driving that. They're one of the biggest obvious changes to the title and the Misano circuits. I'll talk a little bit about those two in a little while. With the aerodynamics, non-circulatory lift has been implemented. The setup UI and logic changes to accommodate a big number of damper clicks. Now I think this is when you're doing setup, you don't have to keep clicking it to change the dampers. You can do larger changes on that. Hot lap mode has been changed a little bit. It now has a fixed fuel load of 10 litres, and the fuel load slider is no longer available in hot lap sessions. Bump stop telemetry graphs in the setup screen for the mechanical balance. I will be showing you that when I get back into driving these cars, but there are changes there. Fine tuning in the aero screen, and the front aero variation no longer just shows a single percent. So you might have seen when I was trying to extract a little bit more lap time out of my Lamborghini and start to get used to this sim and that Lamborghini, you may have seen that the aero variation on the aerodynamic screen was just simply 7.6. I think the aero variation I had was 5, 6, 7 and then 8%, and now it actually has decimal numbers. There is code for realistic brake bias values, and plus you can now also do percentages of brake bias, so you can have something like 67.8% brake bias or 72.4% brake bias, something like that. At least that's what I'm hoping you can get. Maybe it's just in 5s, but I'm hoping it is in 1s. There has been a few more changes on the preset setups, and also you do have some fixes for the Huracan with the suspension geometry and dampers. There's also been some fine-tuning of the tyre model with the camber gain, inner, middle and outer heat range, and more options there. Force feedback has also been changed. Again, I need to make some adjustments. You might see it clip. In fact, you're just seeing it now clip as I'm turning into that corner. But you will see that we have new sliders for dynamic dampers and road effects. On top of that, stability control has been reworked. So for steering wheels, I think it was very easy with stability control on. That has now been taken away, so there is that there. The driver steering animation has also been reworked. Driver assets for teams, for the teams that are currently featured, are there. Water spray effects in the night have been changed. Nürburgring has had some fixes and improvements. There are HUD options for speed unit toggle, timetables to the pause menu and post session. There is sharpness options to the video settings. Camera settings have pitch angle adjustment. There is a number of different things. There's a proximity indicator toggle in the HUD options, and we also have races available. So we've got sprint race weekend and hot lap super pole now available in the game mode, so you've got that as well. Auto engine starts has been added. Auto pits limiter has been added. The practice and qualify overtime has 3 minutes now, and there is a sprint race weekend system as well. There are a few other bits and bobs here and there, but I'm not going to go through every single thing. There are changes, for example, to the audio engine and things like that, but I'm not going to talk about any more of that. You get the idea. There is a lot going on. So let's talk a little bit about the Misano World Circuit, which is named actually the name was changed to add the words or the name Marco Simoncelli on it after his tragic death in MotoGP at Malaysia 2011, I think. He was only 24 years old or something, and he had an accident, and he actually died in that race or shortly after that race due to his injuries. So this track is it's located in Italy, and I don't know what this is, the Frazioni of Santa Monica, in one of the provinces. It was designed in 1969. It was opened in 1970, I think. Oh, sorry, it was opened in 1972. It broke ground in 1970, and I think its first race was also in 1972. It was originally 2.17 miles, but it was increased in 1993 to 2.53 miles, or just over 4 kilometers. It does have a capacity of 60,000, which is, and I think the MotoGP race actually had an attendance of 100,000. And what else? The major events, I haven't done this in a while, as you can see. The major events is the San Marino Motorcycle Grand Prix, the Superbike World Championship, Formula Renault, which I think is a F3. You've got Formula 3.5, and the Black Lane Sprint race. So obviously these cars, DTM races as well. 16 corners, and as you can see, it is a clockwise circuit, but it does look a little bit odd when you're actually pulling out of the pit lane. There is a little bit of a change there, but it is a clockwise circuit. The race lap record is a 1 minute 28.279 in a 2018 Formula 3 European Championship car. So that's something that I am definitely not going to be getting towards. As a matter of fact, in this video, I think, well, I'm not going to tell you how fast I go. So you'll just have to wait and see. So you can see my current lap, not fast at all. My previous lap also not that fast, but you will just have to wait and see. Moving on from that, it's time to talk for the rest of this video about the Bentley Continental GT. So I am with the Team Parker Racing one, as you can see, but I'm going to talk about the specifications as best as I can find them on these GT3 cars. Obviously they are hidden. Some of the manufacturers don't actually give too much information out, but I'm with the Team Parker Racing GT3 car, of course, one of the Bentley teams. There are a few other cars that they run, and I think all of them are in this sim. So I think there's four or five different ones. Anyway, this car has a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 engine, which has actually been repositioned, so it's been moved back to the rear of the engine bay, which means I think that this car is a mid-engined but a mid-front-engined car, which is different to sort of the normal mid-engine cars that you get. If you say mid-engine, you think it's behind the drivers, but this is actually in front of the driver as far as I can see, or as far as I can tell, but it has been moved backwards. Therefore, I think it sits behind the front wheel axle, making it a mid-engined car. A maximum power on this car is 600 bhp, but in race condition I believe it does 500 bhp with a dry sump oil system. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any torque figures for this car, so I am going to have to see if I can fish some of those out. It is a rear-wheel drive with the X-Track 6-speed sequential transaxle gearbox, racing clutch, of course, a steering wheel mounted paddle-operated pneumatic gear shift. Now, have a look at that steering wheel, because that is a very, very interesting steering wheel. It looks very much like a Formula steering wheel, but it's so low, it just doesn't seem to match the whole Bentley style. Bentley to me is not, it's sporty, but it's more luxury. This is just pure out sporty. The drive train is a carbon fiber prop shaft with limited slip diff, so you do have an LSD on it. Double wishbone suspension, front and rear, with 4-way adjustable racing dampers, so of course you can adjust them in the sim. And we do have hydraulic power assisted steering, something that you probably can't really feel in the sim. You take for granted when you're actually driving one of these cars with the steering wheels that you have. The brakes are ventilated iron disc brakes. Now this is really odd. iron disc brakes, front and rear. I've not heard of this. 6 piston front calipers, 4 piston rear calipers, and of course you do have the adjustable brake bias. The fuel system I'm not going to go into, nor am I going to go into the safety. Of course it has a race specification ABS and traction control, 18-inch rims. Tyres are 310 710 R18s, and of course the aerodynamics, front splitter carbon fibre, rear wing and body panels all carbon fibre, lightweight aerodynamically optimised bumpers, bonnets, sills and fenders. Now this is also a long car, coming in just shy of 5 metres at 4950mm, just over 2 metres wide, 2030mm, and 1.3 metres or 1.35 metres high, and it weighs around 1,300 kilograms, which makes it heavier than the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 car, that is. Weight distribution is 52-48, so it is slightly front biased. Now, my impressions on when I was driving this car. First of all, I could immediately feel that this was heavier than the Lamborghini Huracan. It just felt heavier, it felt bigger, and then I did have to check to see what the differences were. And I checked the size of the Huracan, and just a comparison, I said that this is just shy of 5 meters. The Huracan isn't even 4.5 meters long. So the Huracan doesn't reach 4.5 meters, this is just shy of 5 meters. However, the Huracan is slightly wider, which means that I think it has a wider track, but it has a smaller wheelbase, making it a more agile car overall. This car though, I have to say, and I think it might be to do with the fact that this car is heavier and has a front-mounted engine, but this car felt more oversteery on power. It just felt like there was a lot of mass at the front of the car and not so much at the rear. But I know it's got a 52-48 wheel distribution, weight distribution, but that's what it just felt like genuinely to me. It made it quite fun to drive, but the car really did feel heavy. It didn't feel like a boat. I wasn't just being pushed out massively on every corner, but I was being pushed out even with this aggressive setup. The Lamborghini Huracan, by the time I tried out the aggressive setup, it wasn't pushing me out as much as this. That felt a lot more agile. So this is understeering as I go through the corners, or at least you can feel it wanting to push out. It still holds, but you can feel it wanting to push out. And then out of the corners, I think maybe because of the mass, maybe because I think this car might have more torque going to the rear wheels, so it's much easier to spin up the rear wheels or give it a bit too much power and then cause them to break traction, leaving you going forwards and obviously spinning around on the front axle. So you do have that, which might have been the reason for it. Nevertheless, it's a really, really fun car to drive. It's different. It's very different to the Lamborghini Huracan. The Lamborghini Huracan feels more aggressive. This feels a bit more stately. You really have to be a lot more gentle with this car, I found, than the Huracan. But I did start getting used to it. I did start feeling quite comfortable with this car. In all honesty, I think this car is a bit more predictable, and if I were to be driving an endurance race, I think I might prefer this car over the Lamborghini Huracan. Though it takes a little bit more work, I feel like, I don't know, this car just felt a little bit more solid. In a sense, it just felt a little bit more solid. It wasn't as crazy as the Huracan. And of course, that sort of, I suppose, follows the philosophy of these cars. The counterparts, the road counterparts. The Huracan is a bit more flamboyant, a bit more crazy. This car is sporty, but it's a little bit more sane. So with that being said, I think anybody who's purchased this so far, and of course the price has now gone up for Assetto Corsa Competizione, anyone who's purchased it, do try out this car. Really do try out this car. It's different. Definitely very different to the Huracan, as I said, but it's also got a fun factor all on its own. So that is where I'm going to end this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Leave a comment in the comments box below letting me know what you think. I know this isn't the fastest of laps, but this is going to be my fastest lap anyway. Don't forget to support me on Patreon, www.patreon.com/ecgadget, and you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ecgadget, and of course subscribe on YouTube. You can also find me on social media at ecgadgetlp for both Twitter and Instagram. That's all from me, and I'll leave you for a few seconds with this roar of this V8 engine. I'll see you guys next time.
Well done, mate. The fastest lap so far.